In this section, we will talk about object interfaces and inheritance. We have briefly mentioned this in the ES6 videos that JavaScript 2016 will come with the nice feature of having classes, but even though ES6 won't have interfaces. So at the beginning of TypeScript, I mentioned that TypeScript is a superset of ES6 and a superset obviously of ES5. So we have much more than in the standard JavaScript. So let's take a look on why it's so important to have object, class, and interfaces. First of all, okay, we have been working in JavaScript with a hack of how to create objects, classes, and adding functions to these classes for a long time. So there are many options for creating objects, like using here, you can see in the slide that we can create a JSON object with two properties like the first name and the last name. And after that, we add a function to the person. So yeah, that's not cool, man. So what are the options? First, if you start working with JavaScript, this will have an error because once you type the values, then you cannot change the structure of this. So if you start working with TypeScript, this will fail. Okay, so other options. Yeah, you can define something like this. You can define the JSON object and then put the function inside. This will work, but again, it's a workaround. This is not a proper object, not nice. So next, what about if we want to pass the object, yeah, to another function? So in this case, we will have to pass a JSON object entirely as a parameter, yeah. And if we use a type system, it's going to look something like this. So that's not nice neither. It's not maintainable, it's not easy to read, and actually it's not properly done. I haven't seen something like this in any other language, like in Java, passing an object like this. No way. So next. Yes, what about if we have interfaces in the language? Fortunately, TypeScript offers the option to have an interface. So in this case, we can define, okay, our person, yeah, we define the I person, will have one property that is the first name of type string, the last name exactly the same, and then a function, yeah, you can see the syntax here, and the function return void, return nothing. So this kind of a smiling face, remember this is a fat arrow with the square bracket, the parentheses, so this is a function. And what is nice to see here, because it's the first time that we see this in this masterclass, is the question mark. So the question mark says that this function is optional. Okay, so we can define a person without the say hi and we don't have any problem. So now if we want to pass a person as a parameter in a function, TypeScript, again, it's a type system, so we can say, okay, we will receive person of type iPerson. And from there, we can use features like autocomplete. Inside, we can say person, then use autocomplete from the IDE, and it will write the final code that is say hi. Yes, before this, let's do an example of this with the Visual Code Studio. So we have interface, right? iPerson. Then we have first name, string. Let's do it with lowercase. Last name, string, and say hi. This is going to be optional, and it's a function that return void. Okay, so now we have the interface. I want to show something to you. Let's copy this. Let's go to TypeScript. Remember that in the official website, typescriptlang.org, in the playground, we can check writing TypeScript code and then check the final version, the transpiled JavaScript code. So let's put here our code, and this is what it generates from this. So the final JavaScript from the interface, it's nothing. So you will be wondering, what the hell? Exactly. It generates nothing because in JavaScript there are no interfaces. Even in ES6 we won't have interfaces in the near future. So why do we need to write this? Again, because the purpose of TypeScript is helping us for very big projects and to scale nicely between the team. So it's much better if we have add person, yeah, and then we do something like this, yeah. So if another developer wants to use the add person, okay, the type is any. So yeah, what do I have to add here? Let's see. Yeah, I can pass 1, right? Yes, nobody's telling me nothing about the clue about what's this type of parameter. But if we use interfaces, now we can say, okay, the person have to be of type iPerson. Once we do this, we have an error here, so other developers will see that it doesn't confirm with the signature of our function. So in order to pass an object here, it has to be of type iPerson. That's the purpose of interfaces, even though the generated JavaScript from the TypeScript interface is nothing. It helps us to write better code. Okay, let's go back again to the slide, and then we have that one interface, for example, iEmployee, can extend other interfaces. So in the end, iEmployee has to confirm all the properties from iPerson plus the properties from iEmployee. This is nice, it's an inheritance of interfaces. If you come from Java, C# or any other high-level language, object-oriented, probably you have used this a lot. Okay, so what about classes? This should not be new to you if you follow the ES6 class, and JavaScript up to date doesn't have classes. ES6 has classes, but right now browsers don't support ES6, or most of them don't support ES6. So one option to start using classes right now with valid ES5 is using TypeScript classes. How does it look? Okay. First, this is how we write classes with normal JavaScript. So we use prototype, and does it look nice to you, this? For me, it's kind of confusing, really. I have been working with prototype for many years, and still today it's hard to read and to imagine that, oh yes, this is a class, right? So with TypeScript, this is much cleaner and nice. Even if you are a new developer, if you know what is a class, a constructor, and methods, this will be super simple to read to you. So let's give it a try. Let's keep this here, and let's write class person, and pay attention of what is happening here. Okay, so we have first name string. I won't put the last name on purpose to show something, but let's do a constructor. Then we pass the first name of type string. Then we can do something like this, that first name equals to first name. Let's put here get name. This return a string, and return is that first name. Okay, so far we don't have any error. As you can see here, the final transpile version of this is this code. Let's see. The interface, as we said, is nothing in the final JavaScript, and the class person, the transpile version, the JavaScript, is just an auto-invoke function, and we are using prototype to generate the final person class. In the future, when ES6 supports classes, if you transpile this to ES6, it's going to be exactly the same without the TypeScript features of the type data. Now let's do a cool feature like implements. So that means now let's do iPerson. Okay, sorry. So that's cool. Now our class person implements iPerson. It means that the person should confirm the iPerson interface, and it's saying an error that we are not implementing correctly the interface because it's missing one property. So last name string this dot last name equal to last name. We haven't defined it yet. Let's put it here. Last name and string. So now it's a valid code. Yeah. So we can see here the final JavaScript version. And what about hi? We don't have any error because hi is optional. But if we do something like this, now it's mandatory. We have an error. It's saying that we are not implemented hi. Okay. So this is a very nice way to work with classes. It generates a valid JavaScript, and we can both or everybody agree that this is a way better way to write code and much nicer. So yeah, this is what I'm explaining here. If you saw the videos from ES6, this is also available in TypeScript and its default parameters. So what is a default parameter? Okay, imagine that now you forget to pass the last name and you try to assign here, and it's going to be undefined is undefined. So we could do here something like Wrangel, and if you forget when you're creating a person to specify the last name, it will assign Wrangel by default here. So let's see. Var person equal to new person. By the way, this is a way that we instantiate the objects. So we pass here Alejandro, and let's say that we change this to get full name. So it to something like this. This dot last name, and then from person we do console.log person.get full name. Okay, so if we run the code, let's see the generated version. We can see the source code. Here is Alejandro Wrangel, and it's because we have the default parameter. But if we don't pass the default parameter and we run the code again, first it's saying we have an error, so we have to pass Wrangel here. So we run it again, we open the source code, exactly the same. But what if we ignore this? We have an error, yeah, but anyway, let's execute the code. Yes, that's what we are trying to avoid, and this brings many problems in very big projects when we forget to pass parameters, and this happens very often in JavaScript. So this is a really nice way to put default. If it's going to be an optional parameter, we could do something like the age is optional and it has to be a number. So you can put here Alejandro Wrangel, but it won't complain about the age because we have specified with this question mark that it's optional. Okay, so let's take a look if we have something else from class. Yes, then TypeScript offer many cool features like getters and setters, Java style. So we don't need to go in detail. You will have these slides available, but remember you have getters You have setters, yeah, with the keyboard set here and with the keyboard get here. We will do an example with a setter when we do the weather application. So if you take a look on the curriculum and all the way down in the number of videos that you will see with me, there is one example that we will use the setters. Yep. Then we have function overloading. I have to say that in general, TypeScript is super nice, but the function overloading, for me, it's one of the features that they could improve it a little bit more. Because we have, for example, say hi. This is one implementation. Then we overload this, and then we have say hi, passing a name. Then we have say hi, passing an I person, and then we have say hi. And we have to create this last one, and from here we have to infer if object is a person, if object is a string, if object is nothing, here to have the concrete implementation. For me, this is not a proper overloading, because we basically are defining the signature, and then in the last function of all of them, you have to check which one of all this is the case. So we have a long if here, if this, if this, if this. So from my personal opinion, and I hope someone from the TypeScript team, you should improve this as soon as possible if you haven't done it these days. Okay, so see you in the next video.